You're listening to Paris: A State of Mind on Paris Underground Radio. For more great content, join us on Patreon at patreon.com/Paris Underground Radio.
Welcome to Paris: A State of Mind. Join us as we talk about the good, the bad, the ins, the outs of property rentals and purchases in and around Paris. We'll have topics for renters, owners, and visitors, share questions we are regularly asked, and more. My name is Gail Boisclair of Perfectly Paris, and my co-host is Marie Pistinier of longtime Paris. Be a part of it. Both of us are proud members of the SPLM, the first representative body of furnished rental professionals. Hello, everyone in the podcast world. Welcome back to a new episode of Paris: A State of Mind. We've had such fabulous feedback about our listeners listening to people that actually live in certain areas of the city that it's yet another episode of this, because it's become my favorite episode too, especially because I can get all kinds of my friends on and find out what they think about living in their area. Today, I have one of my fabulous friends. Her name actually is Fabulous Forest, just so you know. And Forest Collins is based in Paris, and she's a cocktail expert and a France chair for the world's best bars. She has a blog, the best blog about Paris cocktails in the world, a podcast, and an iOS app guide to Paris cocktail bars. Her first book, Drinking Like a Local Paris, will be hitting bookstores very soon, so you better put that on your list for shopping or maybe gift giving. Forrest, welcome.
Thank you so much, Gail. I'm very happy to be here.
Well, I am so happy to have you on. Finally, I took forever getting around to getting you on the bloody podcast.
It was my fault too. I was, running around kind of crazy this year. But we're here now together.
Exactly. So I know you spend part of your time in Normandy and part of your time in Paris. But when you're in Paris, what arrondissement are you living in?
I am living in the 15th arrondissement.
That, we found out from previous episodes, is one of the largest and very, very diverse. How long have you been living in the 15th?
I've been living there, I'd say, I guess probably about 10 years, 10, 11 years. I can't remember when Thibault and I moved there, but about a decade.
Wow. Time flies when you're having fun.
Right?
And why did you choose to live in the 15th? Was it just a matter of where you happened to find an apartment, or was it really the area that you wanted to be in?
It was not at all the area that I wanted to be in. Actually, it was the least area that I wanted to be in. Thibault and I decided, my partner and I decided to move in together. And as you know, I was living in the very lively and fun 18th, and I loved living on Montmartre. And he was working in Boulogne-Billancourt. So it would have been a difficult, commute for him every day if we were living in the north of Paris to get down there. So under duress, I said, fine, I really wanted to live with him. I will give up the wonderful 18th and go down to the 15th, which sounds super boring and not at all my kind of thing. And so I did. And before I did talk to, when I was telling people complaining, 15th, it's just going to be super boring. People started to kind of change my mind. They were saying, no, so-and-so lives there. So-and-so lives there. Get to have a drink with this person, have a drink with that person. They will give you the rundown, and you'll find out it's maybe not as boring as you expect it to be. And that is the case. So yes, it was really kind of, I capitulated to Thibault's preference. And also, really the necessity of not having to commute for him an hour a day. And that's how I ended up there.
Yeah, it certainly makes a big difference. Commuting time, an hour going back and forth, that's 2 hours a day. That's like 10 hours a week. It's a lot of time lost.
Yeah. I think we've all learned that too. With COVID, we've all been in these periods where we get to not do so much commuting, and it is a lot of time lost. So I think that, it's important to like the arrondissement where you live, but it's also important that you don't spend all your time getting back and forth from other places to your arrondissement.
Definitely. So what is it that you like most about the 15th?
Well, I like that it's relaxed and it's calm and it feels very real. There's so many other areas of Paris, especially in the center of Paris and Saint Germain and the first and the second and in parts of the 16th where, you find the Eiffel Tower that are so touristy and so typically Paris. And I say that in quotes because it's what people expect, but it's not really, it's just a very touristy version. And the 15th, it's really full of people that are living their lives and doing their things. It's not overrun with tourists. There's people doing their grocery shopping and going to the fruit and veg stalls. And it feels a little bit like a taste of real Paris. I mean, it is real Paris. It's my real Paris. It's my real life. And I feel like it's, maybe not as exciting for tourists, but it is for those who come in and they want to get a taste of this is what normal Parisians do. So I like that. I like the quiet and the realness, the sincerity of it. So I think, and it's also quite pretty. So, the buildings are all the kind of that pretty kind of white and clean, and there's lots of 10 rooftops and it's got a lot going for it. I am kind of lucky in that I have 4 metro stations that are very close to me, all about the same walking distance, the line 10, the line 6, the line 12, and the line 8. So I can kind of go in any direction I want in Paris and really easily from my house. And, a lot of my favorite friends live on the line 12. I can get up to your part of town on the 12. I have many friends who live on the line 12. So that's my favorite closest line.
Well, that's nice. And do you think that because it's, I guess, lesser known for tourists, etc., do you think that there's a certain type of vibe? So is it an area that's maybe better suited for singles, couples, families, retirees?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a vibe. I think that it is not the best area for singles if you want to get out and meet and greet people in your neighborhood. It's really great for families. It's good for couples. And I'd say it's starting to skew more and more to younger families. And, in our apartment building, there's lots of sort of young and fun couples, and they're starting to have kids. And it's nice because there's lots of parks and the sidewalks are big, and it's easy to get your strollers around, but it's not all just about families. Although it's a good arrondissement for families. It's still relatively affordable. It's got all the amenities that you need and places to take your kids to run around so they can burn off all their energy in the parks.
Yeah, before you take them back upstairs and drive your neighbors crazy with the kids running around. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. I mean, I think that you've been to my apartment and heard our lovely neighbors' children's running around in their, I don't know, steel boots or something. But yes. That aside, it's family friendly, young professional, but not like the 10th or the 11th where you'd probably go and which would be more welcoming to singles.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. And I do agree with you because when I've been in the area, say at a cafe or restaurant or bar, whatever, just sitting around and observing, I definitely do see more of what you're saying, more families, more couples, people with young children in general. I see the odd elderly people. I don't think there's a lot of elderly right around your area, but maybe I notice them less. So I definitely think you're spot on with that. Is there anything else special about your area that you'd like people to know about?
Well, I think that, I said before, it's got a lot going on and it really does. I think it's got a little bit of everything. I think it's got interesting culture. There's like some really lesser known museums I love, like the Musée Bordel, which is in the fifth. There's Les Ruches, which is the artist residence. Historically really famous artists have lived and worked there. And they still, I think, have studios where artists can live. So there's that you can find the art and the culture. You can find the greenery with the great parks. And it's not, there's the Georges Brassens Park, Citroën Park, and lots of other little smaller parks. And great food, shopping, lots of little your butchers, your bakers, all of that, and fun boutiques. So I feel like it's got a little bit of everything. And then good restaurants, if you know where to look. And then also has an unusually high concentration of Korean restaurants, which is great because I love Korean food. And then also they've got a really high concentration of Persian restaurants. And the street down there by Boisclair, Rue des Entrepreneurs, its nickname is Little Persia. So you kind of think you're out in this residential place that doesn't have much going for it, but it's got a lot of kind of really great qualities.
Wow. So I had no idea that it was known as Little Persia, the area around Rue des Entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, cool. I just learned something. Every day is a learning experience.
It is indeed. Well, we'll go have food at one of the restaurants. We'll go grab lunch there one of these days.
I would love to. I also love that it's got a lot of Korean restaurants because I love that as well too. Finally, if there's nothing else that you want to add about your area, is there anywhere in Paris that you would rather live? So you've got your apartment fairy godmother that comes down and says, Forest, you can live in any area of the city, in any type of building that you want. Nothing is impossible. Where would that be?
I don't know. I mean, I'm really partial to the arrondissements where I've lived before, like the 17th and the 18th. I'm not interested in something fancy like the Champs-Élysées. I don't want to be in the 8. I don't want to be in the really lively areas. So I'm not really that interested in moving from the 15th. I mean, my apartment fairy godmother could get me a much bigger, larger apartment, preferably with a rooftop terrace. But yeah, I'm very happy in the 15th, and I can't really think of, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I should want to be someplace else, but I don't. I'm very happy.
It's really funny, it's really like, it's great. It's not funny that you're happy. But what is really funny, all the reasons that you talked about not wanting to be in the 15th in the very beginning were also the reasons where I always said, oh, the 15th? Are you crazy? But then I had more and more friends moving to the 15th, and I thought, what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I do. I have a lot of friends who live in the 15th now. And yeah, we're building our community on this side of the river. I mean, I know most of my friends are on the other side, but yeah, us left bankers, we're banding together and pulling our friends down to see what this side of the city looks like.
Well, I would agree that it's not a bad area at all.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I always love it when you come down to see me there. So we'll have to make that happen again soon.
If you're enjoying this episode of Paris, A State of Mind, you may also be interested in our sister podcast, Don't Miss This. Join Jennifer weekly for the scoop on what's happening in Paris. Paris, A State of Mind will be right back after a word from our sponsors. And now back to Paris, A State of Mind. So thank you very much for sharing your thoughts about living in your area. What I'd like to do is turn over the conversation to you, and you can maybe tell the listeners a little bit more about yourself, how they can contact you, and so on.
Sure. I mean, I don't think there's a lot more than what you've covered in the introduction, but yeah, I've been drinking and writing and thinking and talking and doing all kinds of activities around cocktails for a very long time in Paris, since about 2006 or so. And my blog, 52 Martinis, was probably the first blog in Paris that talked about the cocktail scene here, which was very, very nascent at the time, almost non-existent.
Yeah, totally non-existent.
Exactly. Yeah.
We're coming to Paris in the beginning and trying to get a cocktail, and they were just the most hideous things. I said, well, I better just have wine.
Exactly. I mean, I spent my first probably 5 years here just having wine, because even though so many of the little cafes and the restaurants, the bars say cocktails on the awning, they're not. They're bad. Bad. So I like to think that I was part of the initial wave that sort of raised the, I don't know, awareness of cocktails here in Paris. So yeah, I started writing about them, and now I've got the app where people can find cocktail bars, and a podcast called Paris Cocktail Talk, where I talk about the trends and traditions of drinking in France. And as you mentioned, I have finished my manuscript for Drinking Like a Local Paris, and that will be coming out, well, hopefully soon. I'm supposed to get word from the publishers when that's coming out, but it's all been submitted. And so I think it's coming out in the next month or so. And yeah, and as you said earlier, I am the chair for the world's 50 best bars for France. So I get to go and explore a lot of cocktail bars and help select the panels that vote in France for bars. And that's a very fun role to have.
Yeah, life more difficult, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So no, it's fun. If it has to do with cocktails in Paris, probably somehow I've seen it or done it or been part of it or want to be part of it. So I think that's it. And you can find me pretty much everywhere on Facebook, Instagram is where I'm the most active. I'm 52 Martinis. I am also on Facebook and Twitter as 52 Martinis, but you probably won't see much activity for me there because I can't multitask very well. So I'm kind of a one platform at a time kind of girl. The number 52 Martinis. And you can also check out my site, which is 52 Martinis, 52martinis.com. And it has a lot of reviews on Paris bars and also roundups of bars in other cities because I do travel a lot. So I like to share the news for where I like to drink when I go to other places as well. And I think I've probably bored you enough with the details about me. I think that kind of covers it.
Never. That's perfect. Hopefully our listeners will reach out to you via all of that social media or read your blog or get your app and so on. But thank you so much, Forrest, for being on the podcast with me.
Thank you very much, Gail, for having me. It is always a pleasure.
Thank you. See you soon.
See you. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to Paris, A State of Mind, featuring Gail of Perfectly Paris and Marie of Loquim, both who are founding members of the SPLM. Paris, A State of Mind is produced by Paris Underground Radio. The music, Jazz in Paris, is by Media Right Productions. For more information on this show and others, go to parisundergroundradio.com.
This episode of Paris, A State of Mind was produced by Jennifer Garrity for Paris Underground Radio. For more great content, join us on Patreon at patreon.com/Paris Underground Radio.